Santa's coming doesn't mean that we all have to stop building this business. I did a conference call on Saturday about some tips about how to do it and still get invited back to next year's Thanksgiving dinner. In other words, don't puke Monavie on everybody during the holidays. But it's a wonderful time when you're gathering around with friends and family to discuss some of the things that we have to offer them. Maybe not right then, but maybe right after, a couple days afterwards. Hey, get with me. I remember you telling me a few things about some of the ailments you were having when we were sitting at the Thanksgiving dinner. Maybe I can share something with you. We need to connect. Or somebody who was complaining about what's going to be a lean Christmas this year. Hey, I think I have a way that can help you get through Christmas this year. Maybe we need to connect. And get with them and get them started in this business, and then share with them the concept of go get 4 more people and we'll pay for your Christmas. I've got a product that's fabulous for stress. More people commit suicide during the holiday season any time during the year. Let's eliminate the stress from your life. Let's get you started on some product. Let's go get 4 more people to do it too. And so if you do that, imagine what the possibilities are for the brand new person. If you're in at a 1,000-point kit or on a senior kit, and you sponsor 4 people in, that's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 points, right? If you're an experienced builder in this business, chances are you've got one leg that's bigger than the other. If you take those 4,000 and any one of those 4 people sponsor one person, you're gold in your lesser leg in the first week. If you that count the points up, that's 5,000 points. If any time in the next 3 weeks 3 new people get in, all of a sudden you're qualified for a Jeep. So you can go gold and get a Jeep in the first month of the business very, very easily. And you remember the numbers that I rattled off in terms of rank advancements? In terms of rank advancements, you noticed that we had, I said we had a purple diamond, a blue diamond, a diamond, an emerald, 3 rubies, 21 golds, 14 silvers, and 7 bronzes, and then a bunch of stars and star 500s. Well, why is it that you had the fewest number of bronzes, a lesser number of silvers, a little bit more on the silvers, and more golds? Why is that? Because they could go from 0 to gold and skip the bronze and the silver level. We had brand new guys getting in the business who they said, wow, I see the wisdom of this. I can put 4 people into this business. I can make a bunch of money. If I get 2 more in the business, they'd be in at $5,000 in their first 2.5 weeks in the silver and qualified for a Jeep. And how difficult was that for them? They took 4 people and taught them the same thing with the enthusiasm and the passion that we have. They did the same thing to 4 people that are in the business. And they got them entered in a way that was with the appropriate first order, and it was fast, and they got inspired. We got a guy in Connecticut that since August 1st, when this started, he has squared every single week. Why is that? Because even when you lose the 28-day multiplier, it's still a very generous, lucrative pay plan. He squared every single week. Why does he do that? Well, it makes perfect sense for him to square every single week, because when he squares, he gets at least a $2,000 check, and when people underneath him square, it's even better than that. So let's take a look at kind of statistically what happened in the business when we focused on this. You remember the first 4, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Typically, what we would find is of those 4, there'd be 2 that were pretty serious about building the business, and 2 more that maybe were not so serious about building the business. But they wanted to try the product, and they saw the wisdom in it, and they got in. Well, that kind of 50% sort of rationale played out consistently. And so if 2 of their 4 got in and 2 of their 4 and so forth, the next week you'd have 8,000 for a total of 12,000 points in the first 2 weeks. If that continues to play out, 28,000 points in 3 weeks, 60,000 points in 4 weeks. And that's not unheard of. That's the kind of volume that would track under these circumstances. And so just and I would encourage you to counsel upline on this especially. How do you place those people in the binary? If you've got 1 and 2 people, and assuming for all other purposes they're not related and there's not some reason that you have to keep them together, put one of them in one leg of the binary, the other one in the other, drop your number 3 and your number 4 people under them to give the true builders some encouragement, and just run. and teach them the same thing all the way down. Do counsel upline on placement. It's really important that you make sure that you and your team are all doing the same thing. So what really started to become kind of icing on the cake was that people who got people underneath them to square got 20% of that check. So if you sponsor your 4 people in, and any one of those 4 gets squared as well, then, well, when that happens, you get 20% of their check. If they get a $3,200 check, all of a sudden you got another $640 coming your way. This person gets 4, $640, 640 and 640. Another $2,500 added to your pay. Like, even if you're a person who's been at this for a while and have a maxed out binary, if you've got a maxed out binary, maxes out 100,000, how can you give yourself in this business a $4,000 pay raise? If it's a $10,000, if you're maxed out at $10,000 in the binary, and you get $4,000 new, you're giving yourself a 40% pay raise. If you get 4 people squared, you give yourself a 25% pay raise. When does that happen in traditional business? I'd say somewhere between 0 and none. I mean, does that ever happen? My wife's a scientist for a pharmaceutical company, and she does cartwheels when she gets a 7% raise because the rest of the team got 5. I wasn't saying, geez, I only have to sponsor 4 people in, and I can give myself a 40% pay raise. So the fundamental principle of this is so much more lucrative than the traditional business that even before this came along, it caused me to change my focus away from working my Monavie business around my law practice, but now instead I work my law practice around my Monavie business, because it's stuff like this that keeps you inspired, really makes you run. Now with the 1000-point kits, where it's not really a kit, a 1000-point purchase making you senior kit qualified, there's different combinations of kits, products that we've put together that I'll show you in a minute. But before I do that, I want to also reiterate how this is such an important team sport. One of the things that this system encourages you to do, and I don't know whether it was intentional or whether it was something that the corporation just happened upon, is that if you square someone that you sponsored down in depth squares and you're entitled to their 20%, if you yourself aren't squared yet, that 20% rolls up to the next guy. So looking at this next example, this is if Mike sponsors Randy, sponsors Scott, sponsors Chuck, sponsors Sam, sponsors Nelson, and Nelson hosts a meeting in his house or a meeting at the Civic Center where he gets 25 people there and comes away with 9 applications. Well, those 9 applications, that means Nelson's going to square, but wait a second, Sam hasn't squared yet. And so that 20% is going to would roll to Sam, rolls to Chuck, but he hasn't squared yet. Well, that 20% is going to roll to Scott. Well, wait, he hasn't squared yet. Well, that 20% is going to roll to Randy, but wait, he hasn't squared yet. So now McCormick's getting all of the square money that really was Nelson's doing it, and I'd rather have Sam or Chuck or Scott or Randy get that 20%. So in this example, it's important that Sam puts a sense of urgency on this and puts 4 people under it. Now, why do I care? You say, well, Mike, don't you want the 20%? Well, if Randy squares, I'm going to get his 20% anyway. I would rather have Chuck get 20% and Scott get 20% and Randy get 20% and me get 20%. I'd rather get 20% of Randy than 20% of Nelson. Why is that? Because if Sam gets himself squared with four distributors, and he gets squared, then Chuck gets his 20%, but Chuck has 4 distributors, plus 4 more, plus 4 more, and all of a sudden, instead of 4 distributors and a $640 check, I've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 distributors. 20 distributors plus a 20% check plus the 4 square that I achieved before. So it's really important that you realize that, so you look down in your depth and you say, geez, I want to help Sam out. I want to help Chuck out. I want to help Scott and Randy. We're all growing together. So this system that they put in place not only encourages you to place an appropriate initial first order, it also encourages you to act quickly, and it also encourages you to work down in depth with your group and to help other people be successful. And the true intrinsic value of this business, I think, is helping others. And it's built right into the system. You're financially rewarded for helping other people in your group be successful. So I mentioned to you that the 1,000-point enrollment resulting in a senior kit's awesome. Well, if you were to go out and spend 1,000 points on bars, the cost of that is going to be pretty darn high. So thank you to Karen DeSalvatore for jumping out, and I think maybe Sandy Mineo was involved in this too, for jumping out and creating 4 sample kits. And those 4 sample kits are priced out in front of you. And these are only suggestions. They're based on the Connecticut location because Connecticut actually pays shipping tax on top of their real tax, so it'll be a little bit less expensive for some of you. And some of you don't pay sales tax on food, so it depends on what state you're in. But these numbers are pretty close. And you can see it's about $1,250 to get a 1,000-point kit. Now, why does that make sense? Well, it makes sense because if you're going to recover an amount of money that is going to far exceed that, and you're going to qualify for a Jeep very, very quickly. Remember, if you're in at 400 points, it takes 2.5 times as much work to get a Jeep than if you're in at 1,000 points. If you're in at 400 points, it takes 2.5 times more work to rank advance. So on the 1,000 points, you can rank advance and you can achieve a Jeep qualification much, much, much more quickly. And along the way, you can really inspire your group to achieve something phenomenal that will demonstrate to them that they can do it too. And so these are some 1,000-point PV orders. And let's proceed to the next one. Now, there may be a time when you decide that if you've got 2 people in at 1,000 points and you've got 2 more at 300 points, you may decide that, gosh, I need some product. I'm going to help them get to their 1,000 points. And this is perfectly within the rules. And there's nothing that's violating any concept by doing this. If you're on a senior kit and you want to help somebody bridge the gap, that's perfectly understandable. What we don't want you to do is to go broke doing it. And so we came up with a number that constituted sort of a break-even point if the worst-case scenario occurred. The absolute worst situation is that nobody wants 1,000 points. They only want in at a $300 order, a $250 order, a 200-point order. And what's the lowest number that you can accept and bridge the gap and still come out even on in terms of money? And so what we've done for you here in this slide is identified that. I would encourage you to counsel upline with whoever you're in business with and talk to them about the wisdom of doing this particular maneuver. But if it makes sense for you as an individual and it makes sense for the person who's getting in as a new person, and bear in mind, a person can build this business on 200 points. It's a lot harder to build it on 200 points. But we've done it for several years, putting people in on 200 points and 200 points of autoship, and build a really nice-sized business. But if it makes sense to you under your individual circumstances, under the individual circumstances of the person you're working with, and consistent with your upline's philosophy, here's a mathematical equation that will show you why it can make sense for you in your bank account as well. If you had to put 4 people in and you only collected $300 from each of them, you would still break even. Why is that? Well, you're on a senior kit. Each senior kit is costing we took a median number of those 4 kits.